Algebra 1, Sensei Learning System, Lesson 23. Let's let y equals f of x represent the basic function. And we can put parameters along the basic function. We'll use a, b, c, and d to represent those parameters. A will represent anything multiplying outside the function. B will represent anything multiplying on the x inside the function. C will represent any number adding on the inside of the function, and D will represent any number that's adding on the outside of the function. Now, these four parameters will cause different things to happen. So let's represent what happens if they're negative. So if A is negative, if B is negative, if C is negative, and if D is negative. Okay, so let's use these lines here to kind of represent what happens. Okay, if A is a negative number, we get a reflection about the x-axis. Okay, so whatever was on the top goes to the bottom, and whatever's on the bottom goes to the top. If the B parameter is a negative number, you get a reflection about the y-axis. So whatever's on the left side goes to the right, and whatever's on the right goes to the left. If the C parameter is negative, the graph shifts to the right. And if the D parameter is negative, the graph shifts downward. So I'm going to identify for number one all the parameters. The A parameter is on the outside here, which is an understood 1. The B parameter here is the negative on the x, which is an understood negative 1. The C parameter is 3, and the D parameter is negative 2. Taking all the parameters off, we're left with the basic function. The basic function will be y equals x squared. Now the graph of the basic function looks like this. It's a parabola with a vertex at 0, 0. Okay, we'll start putting our parameters back on one by one in this order. CBAD. So first we'll put the C parameter back on, which was the 3. So putting that back on, we get x plus 3 all squared. And this will shift the graph 3 times to the left. So your vertex goes from 0, so 1, 2, 3, to negative 3 on the x-axis. So our graph shifts 3 times to the left. Next, we're going to put the B parameter on, which is a negative on the x. So we have y equals negative on the x, and then plus 3 all squared. And the negative on the x will give us a reflection about the y-axis. So whatever's on the left side will go to the right side. So right now our vertex is at negative 3. Here our vertex will be at positive 3. And everything just kind of reflects over or flips over. That's a bad graph. I kind of missed the 3 there. Let's try it again. There we go. Alright, there we go. And finally, let's see, the A parameter is understood 1, so nothing changes, so we'll go straight to the D parameter, which is the minus 2. So we'll have y equals, parentheses, negative x plus 3 all squared, and then minus 2 on the outside. Okay. Because the D parameter is negative, this is going to go down twice. So I'm already over 3, but I'll be going down twice. So my vertex is now here, right at the 3, negative 2 place. So let's build our graph. That's a little better. And there's our graph. Okay, next. We're going to be graphing y equals the square root of negative x minus 4, all minus 5. Okay, so first I'm going to identify my parameters. So A is positive 1, understood 1. B is negative 1 on the x. C is negative 4. And D is negative 5. Removing all the parameters gives us our basic function, which is y equals the square root of x. The graph of y equals the square root of x starts from 0, 0 and kind of extends upward and bends. Okay, that's your square root of x. Next, We're going to put our parameters back on first, our C parameter. So this is going to be y equals the square root of x and the minus 4. The C parameter is negative 4. Therefore, we're going to shift the graph 4 times to the right. So instead of starting at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to start at 4 and then head to the right. Okay, next will be our A parameter, which is understood 1, so we'll skip that and go to our D parameter. I'm sorry. Next is going to be our B parameter, my fault. B parameter, which is a negative 1 on the x. So this will be y equals the square root of negative x minus 4. Okay. Now, with a negative B parameter, this is going to give you a reflection about the y-axis. So here's the y-axis here. And currently we're over here at 4, so we're going to reflect over here to negative 4. 1, 2, 3, and negative 4 is there. And it will, instead of going to the right, it will now go to the left. It's a reflection. Okay, now we'll put on our last parameter, which is the D parameter, skipping the A parameter. So we'll have y equals the square root of negative x minus 4, and then minus 5. Okay, so the D parameter being negative 5, we'll go down 5. So we're already 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, and we will now be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 downward. So here will be our starting point right here at negative 4, 5, negative 4, negative 5, should I say. And the graph will venture here to the left. And that's our graph. Okay, number 3. Our parameters for here are A equals understood 1 outside the absolute value sign, B is negative 1 on the x, C is negative 3, and our D parameter is positive 4. Removing all these parameters, we'll end up with y equals the absolute value of x. Now let's graph that. This graph is the classic V shape here. Kind of 45-degree angle going up from the x-axis here. Okay, now we're going to put the C parameter on first. So we'll get y equals absolute value of x minus 3. Now because the C parameter is negative, it's going to shift everything to the right 3 times. So our vertex is going to go from 0 to positive 3 here. Try my best to keep those 45-degree angles here. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay, next, we're going to put on our B parameter, and the B parameter is going to be a negative 1 on the x. So y equals the absolute value of negative x minus 3. Okay, let's see what that does. We should get a flip across the y-axis, should I say. So instead of being our vertex being at 3, it's now going to flip over to the other side, and now it's at negative 3. And we're going to draw that classic V shape here. Okay. Last, after skipping the A parameter, we're going to put on the D parameter. So we have y equals absolute value of negative x minus 3, and then plus 4. This is going to raise the graph 4 times. So we have 1, 2, 3 to the right, to the left, should I say, but raise it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And so this is our new vertex right here, right at negative 3, 4. And it's a little hard to draw because everything is in the way. It's a little high, but that is going to be our graph.